Hello ladies and gentlemen, and this will be my first in real life video essentially. In today's video I just wanted to compare the PlayStation 4 controller original with the original PlayStation 5 controller. These are controllers that you get straight out of the box, and they are the first generation of each console that you would get basically. So I just want to highlight any differences between them, and the first difference is what you can literally see, and as you can see there's quite a lot that's changed. So the first thing you're going to notice is the colors. The PlayStation 5 has pretty much only one motif of color, and that's a black and a sort of grayish at the back. You can see the two-tone difference. PlayStation 5 is a full black and white dual motif, as you can see here. Whether or not which one's better, that's entirely personal preference. I think both look very, very nice, but I am leaning towards the PlayStation 5 a bit more. The next difference is, for me, the buttons. As you can see now, they are pretty much just grey. Whereas on PlayStation 4, I did like how the circle, X, triangle, and square were coloured. I think it gave it a bit more of a unique identity, similar to how the Xbox is coloured. But that's changed now. As you can see, the D-pad also is grey, and you can see that the buttons actually have a plastic coating around the grey symbols and whatnot inside. Next thing you'll notice is that the PlayStation symbol at the bottom is now actually cut around rather than as a circle with the PlayStation symbol within this plastic housing. So that's another difference. I do prefer this rather than this. The next thing you would also notice is the touchpad. The touchpad is a lot more, let's say, trapezium shaped. It's a bit more wider, and I've also noticed the quality of it is actually a bit more better. The response, if you would like, is better than this. I felt that this was a bit gimmicky, so this is definitely an improvement. If you look at the back, the PlayStation 5 triggers are also a bit bigger than the ones on the PlayStation 4, which I do like. It's, it just gives you more room to press them, so that's a bit more better. Also the light, rather than having a full-blown LED at the front, you have now got the LEDs lining around the touchpad. The other thing worth noting is that on the PlayStation 5 you now have USB-C as the charging cable, whereas on the PlayStation 4 you had micro USB. Sorry, and I do welcome that as a change. USB-C is always the better option. Next thing to talk about is the analog sticks, and this is definitely a massive improvement. As you can see, after around several years of use, the analog sticks have worn away. If you're very, very careful, you might get lucky. Me, I was not so lucky, and as you can see, after years of playing, they have significantly degraded, and I've seen ones where there's literally no rubber on it left at all. The PlayStation 5 one actually has a bit of a texture going around the outsides of the analog stick. In the middle, it has more or less the same texture as it was on the PlayStation 4. But the material is a lot more tougher. It's a lot more less sensitive, if that makes sense. But it's just, it should definitely hold throughout the PS4's lifespan. It's the same type of rubber on the PlayStation 4 20th anniversary controller, and that one was that one was very, very resistant to sweat or damage or peeling, essentially. Now let's go into the differences that you may not notice just from looking at the video alone. Now the first thing you'll notice is the weight. The PlayStation 5 is definitely a lot more heavier than the PlayStation 4 controller. That gives it really a good sense of weight and quality to it. I do welcome the weight. As a person with very small hands, I still like it, and I just think it's more solid. It feels nicer. It feels expensive, which it is. PlayStation 5 sells for around 65 to 70 pounds, whereas PlayStation 4 now I've seen it go for around 25 to 30. The PlayStation 5 controller is over double the price. I hope I said PlayStation 4, not PlayStation 5. Next you're going to notice is that it's taller and wider as well. So if I try and put these side by side, you can definitely see the PlayStation 5 is taller. As you can see, it's not by much, but it is taller. It's also a bit wider as well. So if you've got large hands, that could be beneficial to you. However, I've noticed that people with large hands typically complain about the jagged edges. They complain that when you're holding it, this kind of like pokes into you and it can hurt. Whereas the PlayStation 4 was obviously a lot more rounded. It goes around your contours of your skin. Another welcome keep, essentially, is the microphone hole where you can plug in headphones. So that's also very, very cool. I'm glad that they kept that so you can talk to people and hear game audio using headphones from the controller rather than plugging it into your PlayStation 5 console. Another thing to talk about is the microphone that's actually built into the PlayStation 5 controller. We did not get that on the PlayStation 4. That could be why Sony doesn't bundle in headphones with the PlayStation 5 box, because you can talk to people with just the controller. And from what I've heard, the quality is actually quite decent. There's a bit of cutting every now and then, but still, for a microphone that's built into the controller, that's definitely a welcome change. The other thing that's very drastically changed are the haptics that's built into this controller, and I feel like this is a massive step forward. So just the haptics and the feedback that you receive when playing games, shooting, picking up stuff, walking in some games, is just massively improved. You wouldn't necessarily get that on a PlayStation 4 at all. You would get the usual rumble when explosions or shooting is going on, but this is definitely a lot more immersive. Astro's Playroom, I'm sure you guys have heard about that, is definitely best game to showcase what this controller is capable of. Next thing to talk about is the triggers, and the triggers also have had a huge redesign. When you are shooting in some games, the first half journey of the trigger, if you like, is fine, like from all the way from here. But then as you go forward, the resistance would increase and it would become a bit more difficult to push it, just providing just a lot more immersion. And I've seen this in Astro's Playroom when you're controlling the jetpack. As you go to higher levels of speed, it would become a lot more harder to push the triggers. So that was definitely very, very cool. I love that, and I hope more games incorporate the improved haptics on this phone. That would be very, very cool. But yeah, guys, that was the PlayStation 5 controller compared to the PlayStation 4 controller. I've also noticed that the speaker quality of the PlayStation 5 is a little bit more better than the PlayStation 4 controller. Also, in terms of additional design, not sure if you can see it. I don't think this camera will be able to pick it up if it would focus. I don't think that this thing's going to focus, but oh, it did a little bit there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but within the handles of the PlayStation 5 controller, there is a pattern. There is a pattern of that. There's a pattern of circles, X's, triangles, and squares to signify the buttons over here. So I thought that was very, very cool. It's on the PlayStation 5 as well on the inside of it. So I found that very, very cool indeed. It provides a bit more of a texture to the PlayStation 5 controller. But overall, definitely a very, very good controller. I'll probably say the one thing, or two things I would say is a bit iffy about it, I'm not too sure about it, is one, the battery life. I've noticed the battery life still isn't that good, with the improved haptics and triggers and speaker quality and the mic. If you're using all those, it might be a bit taxing on the battery life. So I've heard people you get around 6 to 8 hours, which is still very, very good. But battery life has always been a bit of an issue, but you can charge it. So I don't know. For me, it's never really been a problem, but for others, I can definitely see it being a bit of a problem. Next thing I want to talk about is the heaviness. For me, it's not a problem. I welcome the heaviness, but some people may, get tired of holding it after long gaming sessions. But I wouldn't really consider this a problem anyway. Next thing I was just worried about is regarding the triggers. So remember how I mentioned the resistance? I was just wondering, after playing a lot of games and pushing the controller, I really hope that the resistance doesn't wear away, so it doesn't become easier to push it back. I hope it's just a case of a person getting used to it rather than the actual mechanics, if you like, wearing away. So I really do hope that that will not be the case, but only time will tell. So hopefully that's all the differences, or at least all the significant differences regarding the PlayStation 5 controller compared to PlayStation 4 controller. Please guys, if there's anything I've missed, do let me know in the comment section below so that everyone else will be able to know what the difference is as well. Alright guys, hopefully you guys found this video entertaining or informative at the very least. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you could like the video, subscribe, and share it to people who may still be on the fence of getting a PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation 4, or choosing between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I know that it's obviously very, very difficult to get a PlayStation 5 at the moment right now, especially with all the scalpers making massive amounts of profits on it. I do hope that you do get a PlayStation 5 soon. Here is the list that I managed to pick up. So, it's taller, wider, heavier, better thumbsticks, mic built in, better speakers, better texture regarding the circle, X's, triangles, and squares on the handles. Improved haptics, better trigger feedback. Those are massive, massive improvements. Of course, you have the addition of the USB-C port. Some problems that I just thought I would put in there is that maybe heavier. Some people may not welcome the heavier and might give them fatigue for holding it, or might get tired. The battery life, I don't know how that's going to hold over time. It will obviously deteriorate, but that's just something to keep an eye on. Also, the wear of the feedback, as you use the triggers more, will the resistance wear away over time. But overall, the PS5 controller is definitely a massive, massive improvement. You wouldn't see this type of improvement from generation to generation, so I'm really happy that Sony did make these improvements, and they're definitely a welcome change, and I do thank Sony for making these improvements. So anyway guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna end it now, and thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.